favor? I'm going to go ahead and call to order the public hearing for October 20th. Roll call, please.
Johnny Blunt.
Here.
Jason Hood.
Here.
Janice Carter Beard.
Here.
Lamar Marshall.
Here.
Mike Williams.
Here. Item number 1, an ordinance to amend the City of Hammond budget for the fiscal year 2015-16 to transfer $117,011 from the court-awarded Asset Fund 205 to a local government assistance program grant account project 3160 to replace the roof on the police station. Lacey.
We have done our research on this. Earlier, we received a grant from the LGAP program, which is your local government assistance program, to go towards this project. But when we received that contract, we failed to mention where the match was coming from. So the match is coming from the seized assets fund that we have here in the city, Fund 205. We will make pre-notification to the federal government to be able to use it for this purpose, and then we will report those funds afterwards.
Is this for a totally new roof or just repairs?
It's for a brand-new roof. It will actually introduce a pitch in the roof so that we will not have problems going forward.
Do we have any council questions or comment? Any from the public?
Holly and Smith are the local architects who are on the plans for it.
Item number 2, an ordinance to create the position of sports coordinator, pay grade 119, to replace the position of youth coordinator, pay grade 119. Lacey.
I will help with this one. I think Loretta is on her way over here. This was a request made in the recreation department. The older former position of youth coordinator, the duties have evolved somewhat, and we put it out for management advisory group to review both the duties and responsibilities and to review the pay grade. It came back, suggested or recommended at pay grade 119, which is the same pay grade as what has already been budgeted for this year. So all this is a change in the name and the title of that position. It does not increase the positions that are in the recreation department. It's merely a change of title, and it's to codify that that person will be responsible for the sports programs of both youth and adults and seniors going forward.
Any questions for Lacey?
I think it is a new position, right?
It is a new position, but it's not a new,
I think it is.
we're not increasing the number of staff.
I think we are.
We're changing the youth coordinator position into this position.
What do you mean?
Are we adding on an additional person, I thought?
No, one position is just replacing the other, right?
Yeah, that's create the position to replace the position. The current position is budgeted as the youth coordinator position in the budget, and this is to replace that position.
The titles change.
That's correct.
So we took the youth coordinator and we moved him up to a new job.
The youth coordinator was Christopher Muswaswa was holding the youth program coordinator position. He was promoted to the assistant recreation director position.
Right.
And so this gives us the opportunity to revise that position and to look at the duties and responsibilities. So instead of having an adult sports program coordinator or adult program coordinator and a youth program coordinator, instead what we're doing is we're modifying that department and we're having an assistant recreation director and a sports coordinator. So it's not adding positions to the department. That's what I want to be clear about. This is not a change in the budget. It is only a change in the job titles and codifying that this is more of a sports coordinator position for both youth and adults.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Any public comments or questions? Thank you. We'll move right into our regularly scheduled meeting. Roll call, please.
Johnny Blunt.
Here.
Jason Hood.
Here.
Janice Carter Beard.
Here.
Lamar Marshall.
Here.
Mike Williams.
Here. Mr. Peters, would you lead us in the prayer, please?
Let us pray. Come, God, we come to thank you for this day and for your blessing. We ask, God, this evening that you would lead, guide, and give us the direction that you would have us go. Let us know, God, that we are on your job and that we are here to perform the tasks that have been assigned to us. Now, God, we ask you to just open our mind that we will be able to perform the task that is set before us. We pray, oh God, for this country and for all the things that are transpiring. Remember the families of those people that are deceased, and we we ask, O Master, this evening that you just keep us, bless us according to your riches and glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Would ask all veterans and active military, please ring the proper salute. Mayor, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the
Do we have any council reports? Mayor?
As you know, last week we had a fatal accident at the airport, and our hearts and prayers go out to the families and the two that were involved in the accident. Please, if you would, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. From that accident, it's an incident that hadn't happened here before, and it's something that we will learn from. Our first responders, the fire and police department, I want to thank you all for what you do. People don't really realize what first responders do. That was a first experience for me to be on site for something like that and have to deal with the families. And I will tell you, I have the utmost respect for you and what you do and how you put yourselves on the line every day, fire and police department. So thank you for what you do. And please keep in your heart and minds and prayers for the families that were out there that day involved and the two that were involved in that accident.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have any new businesses in the audience that would like to be recognized?
Yes.
If she has a new business,
They have new business.
Yes.
Just talk about it a little bit.
Well, I will talk about it.
come on up.
We like to be great neighbors and
Come on up to the podium and give us your name and address and briefly tell us about your business.
yes, my name is Tangela Green, and I'm a zone manager with CST Brands, which is corner store, and we're opening a new corner store in your neighborhood, in your area. And we'd just like to say that we're happy to be here at Hammond. We have 3 locations here in Louisiana that will open by the end of the year. We've opened one in LaPlace. Hammond is, hopefully we'll have it open on Thursday, and then we have one in Prairieville. So I just wanted to say, you know, we're in the community. We'd like to let you guys know to come by. We have fresh food offerings and, you know, just good gas prices and everything. So just wanted to let you guys
Y'all
know.
built that thing quick.
Yes, we did, and we have a full-fledged deli in there, so we'll be providing and selling fresh food, donuts, tacos, and
We
just
be
want
selling
to.
subs there too?
Excuse me.
Sub sandwiches?
Sandwiches, yes, fresh sandwiches, but I don't know.
I was just curious.
Well, I'm from Texas, so, but I love Louisiana, so
Well,
you know.
welcome. Welcome.
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank you very
Looking
much.
forward to enjoying your place.
Located on Morrison Street. South Morrison.
South.
But yes.
Yep. All right, has anyone had a chance to review the minutes of October 6th? If so, I'd entertain a motion.
Make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Johnny Blunt.
Minutes.
Yep.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Janice Carter Beard.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike Williams.
Aye.
He's thinking about that sand. Keep his attention.
Old business, item number 1, resolution approving OB Express located at 2280 Old Baton Rouge Highway to obtain a permit to sell high-low packaged alcohol for the 2015-16 calendar year. The owner is OB Express LLC, Ms. Jenny Wilson.
Good afternoon. I'm going to ask that the owner go ahead and come up. This is old business. We introduced it last meeting, and there was an emergency circumstance that the owner couldn't be here, but he is here tonight, and we are asking for approval, and he's here to answer any questions that you might have.
Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Harbej Singh. Address is 2280 Old Baton Rouge Highway, Hammond.
We spoke briefly before the meeting. I'll let you know that we ask all businesses who are applying for alcohol permits to come before us, and we put you on the record and ask you if you understand the laws concerning sales of alcohol to minors.
Yes, I understand.
Something that we take very seriously, Chief. You'll definitely be checked.
Yes, sir.
You've indicated that you're already in business in the city, so you're familiar with that, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
So, okay.
Yes.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Lamar Marshall,
Aye.
Janice Carter Beard,
Aye.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Johnny Blunt. Mike Williams.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Number 2, a resolution to accept the bid of Lenco Industries Incorporated, DBA Lenco, armored vehicles for the purchase of a Lenco Bearcat G2 vehicle SWAT unit for the police department for the price of $249,790. The funds for the purchase are coming from the police millage, Fund 210. Mr. Peters, before you start, I just want to say that while this is technically not a public hearing, the public is invited to make comments, and I will allow that to a certain extent. We put a limit on your comments, so there will be an opportunity for the public to speak on this. I know there are opinions on both sides, so I just wanted to let everyone know that we will allow some public input. Mr. Peters.
This is a resolution that we brought last week. We're here again, our last council meeting, to purchase a armored SWAT unit, an armored vehicle for the SWAT unit, for the police department at the price as shown. And so therefore, we come to the council for approval for such purchase.
Chief.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. You know, we come before the council last week, and I think everybody wanted a little bit more information. Since that time, I've reached out to each one, either personally or by the phone, and hopefully answered any questions that you may have. We got to show some people that was able to come a video of what the actual use of this unit is for. So at this time, I hope you'll reconsider and support us. We do have here tonight Chief Harold Todd with Southeastern Police. He does have people that's on our SWAT team, so he's here as support. Chief John Thomas just walked in. We also have 2 paramedics that stays with us when we go out, so he's also here for support. I do have briefly the commander of our team, Antoine Vicnair, would like to make a brief statement.
Good evening. Like I said, my name is Antoine Vicnair. I'm commander of the SWAT team here in Hammond, a special response team, actually. I just wanted to kind of make myself available to you guys if you had any questions, in addition to the previous information the Chief has already imparted to you guys. And basically just kind of assuage the fear of people have been kind of expressing in the public about this vehicle. It is not a military vehicle. It is specifically purpose-built for SWAT teams, special response teams. It is designed to stop gunfire. That is it. It's designed to stop gunfire just like a fire truck is built to put out fires. It is rated to withstand certain impacts from certain types of calibers of ammunition. We don't expect to face that actually at all. For things like 50 cals and things like that. But your average hunting rifle, 30-06, a 308, this will stop those rounds, multiple strikes. It will protect our officers, it will protect the public. In the event that we have an active shooter situation, if we have to make a rescue of someone who is wounded or someone who is pinned down, we can put this vehicle in between the shooter and the bad guy, or the bad guy and the good guys, and the civilians or whoever, to get them out without them, potentially being injured. There are no weapon systems mounted on this vehicle. It is passive armor. That is all it is. I understand some people think it looks scary. It's just a paint job. It is not something that's going to be used to patrol the streets of Hammond on a regular basis. It's not something that's going to be used to, push vehicles out of the way, or run into houses, things of that nature. It is strictly for protection of our officers, protection of our fire department personnel that are with us, and protection of the civilians if we need it. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
I have a question. How many members do we have on the SWAT team?
We have 14 officers, actually 16 officers, 14 from Hammond, 2 from Southeastern. We have 2 firefighters as well that are attached to our team as medical for medical assistance.
And how often have you been called out to handle a situation in the city of Hammond?
In the last year, time frame wise, we've had 2 call-outs in the last 6 weeks.
2 call-outs in the last 6 weeks?
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
city of Hammond for what?
Well, one of them was actually an A-meet. It was a mutual assistance call from the chief of police in A-meet for a barricaded subject. We responded up there, and the situation was resolved peacefully. Our last call-out was assistance, our street crimes unit, in apprehension of a suspect in Whitmar Acres, who had several, I think 20-something felony warrants, a history of violent offenses, and had been eluding probation and parole for over a year.
So does the SWAT team do regular police work, or you just waiting on a call for some special project?
No, ma'am. We're a part-time team. I myself am assigned to the detectives division. We have officers assigned to street crimes, patrol, narcotics, and detectives. Our full-time job is police work like that. We come out twice a month for 4 hours without any extra compensation or pay to train so we can handle these special situations. And they're special situations because they don't happen every day. But we have the capabilities to handle these situations. The one thing we are lacking is ballistic protection for our team in the form of a vehicle that can stop high-powered rifles. Right now we have body armor that does have ballistic inserts in them that will stop a rifle if it hits the plate. If it misses the plate, the vest is not going to stop it. We are using a retired bread truck for our deployment vehicle at this point. If that vehicle pulling up on a scene, if someone happens to start shooting at it, that vehicle will not stop any rounds of any caliber. So we don't have protection for our guys, you know, in the form of a vehicle that we could use in situations that may arise as far as high-risk rescues, things of that nature. This vehicle will be an asset to our team. It'll make us 100% safer, make me 100% more comfortable having to look my men in the eyes and telling them we're going to this place to do this job, and there may be somebody on the other end that doesn't want.
How long has this team been in place, and how long have you been?
From what I understand, the team's been in place since around the year 2000. I became a member of it in 2011, shortly after being hired here, and I was named the commander in August of this year.
How often do you train?
Twice a month, every 2 weeks.
What special qualities do you have to be chosen to be on the SWAT team?
To be on the team, basically, when there's an opening, we make notification to everyone in the department that there's an opening. People who want to be on the team submit a letter to me. At that point, we look at who wants to be on the team. There's a physical fitness test. They have to score to a certain standard. Then we take them to the range. They have to qualify with their sidearm, score in the 90th percentile of the standard post course that we all shoot every year. After that, there's an oral interview board where we ask a series of standardized questions, and we evaluate each person that's applying to be on the team. After we do all that, the team gets together and we talk about it, and we vote and basically compile a list, first choice, second choice, up and so on. And then when there is the opening, the first person on the team or first person on the list is notified that they've been accepted to the team. At that point, they start coming to training with us. They probably won't be deployed in a real call out at that point. We let them get a few training sessions under their belt, send them to school to get qualified in special weapons and tactics training, and then at that point they become a full-fledged member of the team.
Is there any diversity on this team?
Meaning?
Meaning, who are the officers that's on it? Do you have any people of color on this SWAT team?
At the moment, no, we do not. We had one officer who was African American. He was on the team for about a year, and he decided it wasn't for him, and he decided to get off the team on his own.
So in the length of time that you've been on this SRT team, how many times have you guys been activated?
That I've been on the team?
Yes, since 2011.
I would have to say around 8 or 9 total call-outs since I've been on the team.
And have all these call-outs been in the city of Hammond, or we mostly just have?
There was one, the one in A-Meet I mentioned earlier. The Every one of them since then has been in the city of Hammond, except for the one at, there was one in Ponchatoula, which was on 51 just south of the hospital, going towards Ponchatoula, which was the subject that actually robbed the First Guaranty Bank on West Thomas Street. And we located him there and apprehended him there. And that was a SWAT call out for that.
So you would say maybe twice a year you guys have been?
Twice to 3 times a year on
And how many
average.
times, in that case, would you think that the need for this vehicle would have been, would you have used it on all those occasions?
More than likely, yes. It's a deployment
What would be the
vehicle.
criteria that you're, first of all, who would make the decision to deploy the vehicle? Is that going to be a call that you make? Or is
To
that
deploy
gonna
the
be a call-
vehicle?
Yeah, to use it, yeah.
It would be, the ultimate decision to deploy the team is up to the chief. I have to get approval from him before we activate the team.
So then, and that would.
When the team is activated, it's pretty much
Assume that you're.
assumed that the vehicle is going to be taken.
So then, so without the chief's approval, the vehicle would not be used for any normal police function?
No, it would be, we would use it for training. I'm not going to say you won't see it riding around the town, going from here to there for training purposes. But no, it would not be used in any active situations without the approval of the chief of police.
So a normal warrant that's not considered, although I'm sure that any warrant serving situation could be considered dangerous, but you're not going to take this thing every time you go serve a warrant.
No, we don't use our SWAT team to serve all of our warrants. Some agencies do. Livingston Parish, for instance, for every search warrant they do, they use their SWAT team. We don't do that here in Hammond. Our detectives, we serve our own warrants. Our narcotics people serve their own warrants. We get assistance from patrol and street crimes to do that. We have what's called a risk analysis. Every warrant that we do, we complete this risk analysis. If it meets the criteria according to the risk analysis for a SRT call-out, then that's when the SRT team will be used. And the criteria would be, if the suspect has a history of violent offenses, if he's wanted for, a violent crime, murder, armed robbery, if he's got a history of that on his criminal history, if there's different things about the residence or the place that we're going to serve this warrant, whether there's active surveillance, there's, burglar bars on the windows and doors, things of that nature, all that increases the risk of serving this particular warrant. So when that risk analysis is done, if it meets the criteria, then it will be an SRT search warrant. If it does not, then whoever is in charge of that particular case will be serving their own warrant. So you won't be seeing this vehicle used for just regular search warrants for, detectives or narcotics and things of that nature.
So the majority of warrants that are being served, they're not being handled by the marshal's office?
I'm confused. You were talking about warrant, well, certain warrants are being handled by the marshal's office. The arrest warrants, bench warrants of that nature, stuff for the court, although we do arrest people on those warrants, those things are primarily handled by the marshal's office. What I'm speaking of are basically felony warrants, warrants that for things like burglary and armed robbery and murder and search warrants for narcotics and things of that nature. The police department handles those warrants.
So, I have another question, Mr. President.
Okay. One concern from the public has been the cost of this vehicle. So I guess, I don't know if you can answer the chief. Have y'all done research on alternatives? I mean, I'm not advocating that you buy something less expensive to save $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. That's not what you guys need, because I think if we make this investment, it needs to be
Well,
we intended to, to be safe.
Lenco is the standard when it comes to vehicles of this nature. They created this vehicle. They saw a need in the late 90s. There was, your big time SWAT teams, LA County and Los Angeles Police Department, Dallas and everything. They were using old military equipment, and they were actually using tracked vehicles that they obtained from the military to use for their SWAT teams. And Lenco decided, well, that's kind of overkill, and it was either that or they were using, like we have, an old bread truck. So they came in and filled that void with a vehicle that was designed for SWAT teams to be used in SWAT deployments to protect officers from gunfire, and that's what it does.
One more question, and I'll let you go more. Since you brought up the old military style vehicles, I've had a couple people ask, well, why don't you use the sheriff's Because we've seen the sheriffs, I think it's called an MRAP.
Yes.
And parades and such. So why would that not be a viable alternative if you had a situation?
I can tell you this, for some places inside the city, it would be. But when you get back into some of our neighborhoods, Washington Avenue, White Street, Mary's Alley area, Louisiana Street, Walnut Street area, the roads are not built to handle a vehicle like that. I mean, it's huge, it's top heavy. The roads are narrow. If you take a wrong turn, you'll have, a wheel go off in the ditch and the vehicle could roll over. They have a high rollover rate. So
2 years ago, they came to me and asked me about getting a unit like that. And I asked them, why wouldn't you get the same type unit? It's $15,000 what they paid for. So we watched it, and we talked to Jimmy Travis and Dennis Peavy. Their issues with the unit as of now, as what he just said, mentioned, rollover for one, but the other one was they're having trouble getting parts for the thing. They're having trouble getting people to work on this thing.
as I stand now, it's not
This
working.
unit was being made, from what I understand, from the federal government downsizing from that to go into these types of situations. This is one of those units we hope we never use. This is something that we've learned from this airplane crash at the airport. We bought a vehicle that we probably should have paid more and got a different apparatus to fight fires. We had 200 gallons, we had to go back and get water twice. The apparatus we really need out there now that we're starting to get into it and we've learned from this last accident is gonna be about a $700,000 vehicle that we're gonna come next budget year and ask, more than likely, for that airport because we're growing. So these are units that we don't wanna use, don't wanna have to use, but when you do need to use them, you want the right vehicle.
And just one quick about the cost of the vehicle. It's $250,000 up front, yes, but we're talking, 15, 20 years use out of this vehicle. So you're in the long run, it's not like you're gonna be spending this money every 5-6 years like you do on police cars.
And our maintenance guys can maintain it, is that?
Yes, they can. It's a Ford engine. It's a Ford chassis. It comes with a 5-year powertrain warranty from Ford. It comes with a 3-year warranty from Lenco, from anything they put on it. They have a parts department. We can call them. They'll overnight it to us. If we need to put it on a lift, Big Wheel has a lift we can put it on. So it's probably the most cost-effective way of doing this type of thing.
Councilman Marshall?
Yeah, my question was, if you did not have this vehicle, and you still have to be in a situation where you have to move into a situation for a hostage or whatever, what would be your plan today?
Today, it's a case-by-case basis, depending on the layout of the scene. If it's a residence, we would approach the residence. We would probably have to stay out of view if there's somebody actively shooting.
Let me further ask the question. So in the case, have you ever, I made a couple of phone calls because, I really want to really spend some time. And one of the things that I want to ask the chief in a few minutes, Mr. President, is that, just the public has a lot of questions. And,
Sure.
And I appreciate you taking the time to explain, but I wish that we would give the public, would have given the public more time to really, learn about what we're trying to do versus, bringing it back up in 2 weeks when we still have lots of questions out there. But one of the questions that came up was, if we have an active military reserve units available and accessible within a reasonable response time, why would we not, 2 questions, why would we not look at that? And then 2, the other question was, it appears that Hammond would become the regional, SRT group. I know you and I talked the other day, there's one in Slidell and one in Hammond. And so if I'm in Ponchatoula and I know that Hammond has this vehicle, I'm probably not going to buy one. Or if I'm in Amite, or if I'm in Independence, or if I'm in Kentwood, or if I'm in Walker, or whatever else, now Hammond becomes the regional supplier for SRT services where we might bear all the costs. And so the 2 questions, one, are we looking at how we can utilize our military services to support us in these situations. And then two, and this might be a question for the chief, have we looked at this as on a more regional approach where there are more people or more municipalities paying for the cost, the one to help, defray the cost, and also, to better utilize the equipment? Because you guys give us a video to watch, and I was watching the video, Chief, in LA, which has 18.5 million people. And
That video is actually in Mesquite, Texas, which is a small town.
No, this is the one that the Jay Lano video that the chief sent us to watch.
Okay.
When they were romanticizing the vehicle for the most part, and it talked about, well, there's 18.5 million people that live in California and LA, and they had 4 units. And so I just did the basic math. There's 4.5 million people that live in Louisiana, so I'm figuring that Louisiana is a fourth the size of LA. And if they have 4 units, then I would do the math and say, well, we would need 1 unit if you look at it from a population statistical perspective. So then I said, well, where would we domicile that unit if we had 1 in our state, if it was basically the same type of need? And would Hammond be the place to domicile a unit when in LA they have 4 and we would have for 18.4 million people, and we would have 1 for 20,000 people?
Okay.
It's just a question that maybe the chief can answer as well.
To answer your first question about the military, I was in the military for 14 years. I was actually part of the 1st to 244th Aviation Units out at the airport right now. I can tell you now that the local units here in Hammond, the National Guard units, they don't have armored vehicles on site. And number 2, their soldiers are not what you would consider combat arms soldiers. They do have an engineering unit. But the aviation guys, they're mechanics, they're cooks, they're clerks, supply people, aviation specialists. They are not trained SWAT people like my guys are. They're not trained to do what we do. What we do is called special weapons and tactics because it is special. We need certain training, we need certain equipment to accomplish our mission safely. So there's no loss of life if possible. Number 2, as far as the region goes, you mentioned LA, Los Angeles, 18 million people. I think it's a matter of geography. They have 18 million people within 100 and something square miles of each other. And they have 4 units on their SWAT team that they use probably every day. So they're getting more use out of this vehicle, probably having to purchase a new one every 4 to 5 years. So we're talking about one vehicle for 20 years.
So when you did that trial run out there at the Army National Guard, was that
Yes, sir.
because you would be the ones going in to do that if something happened out
Yeah,
there?
if something happens at the aviation facility in Hammond, for instance, if there's somebody coming on their post with weapons, active shooter, I know the governor recently issued an order allowing certain people to carry weapons on duty on National Guard facilities in the state. But if something happens there, like happened in Fort Hood, like happened in Tennessee, we're going to be the ones that respond to that. They're going to call us for help. It's not going to be the other way around. So, so the idea that they will be able to assist us on something that we need to be able to handle on our own, I think it's a non-starter. But as far as the regional thing goes, Hammond was recently made a municipal area or municipal economic zone for the Tangipahoa Parish. It's the Hammond Municipal Zone. So this city leads this parish economically. I don't live in Hammond. My kids go to school in Hammond. My wife works in Hammond. I shop in Hammond. I spend money in Hammond. Most people who live on the south end of this parish do spend money in Hammond. So the money that we're getting for this vehicle, some of it does come from outside of the city. It's people coming in here and spending money because we are the economic hub of this parish.
Well, first of all, the 236th Air National Guard out here at City of Hammond is a combat communications squadron.
Okay.
I know because I used to be in it.
Right.
And yes, they are trained for combat. I know because I was. Second of all, that video that was sent to us said that thing had a life expectancy of 10 years, not 20. The
Okay.
video that the chief sent.
Use life expectancy of 10 years in Los Angeles. St. Tammany Parish SWAT has a Bearcat just like the one we're getting. They bought it 10 years ago. It's still going strong. They've had it since 2005. They have had a few little maintenance issues with it. One of the reasons they've had maintenance issues with it is because they have to store it outside. The glass on this vehicle has a special coating on it. That's what makes it bullet resistant. So that glass being exposed to ultraviolet light from being stored outside tends to get a haze on it. So they have to replace the glass about every 2 to 3 years, they told me. Ours will be stored inside. We have a bay big enough to fit it right now. So we won't have that issue.
I would like to, you guys have any questions? I would like to give the public a chance to
Sure.
come up and express their opinion or ask
Thank
any
you.
questions of the law enforcement officers that are here. So is there anyone here that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Joanna Vicnair. My husband is Antoine Vicnair, commander of the Special Response Team. And I just put together a little something just to talk to you tonight on behalf of the wives and the families of the SRT. Antoine and I have been married for 10 years now. Before we met, he was a Marine and also at the Army National Guard here in Hammond. As a soldier in Iraq and 2 deployments, I'm no stranger to worry. So as a soldier's wife, I stopped watching the news when he deployed, and I dreaded a phone call as I do now. When he gets called out, he gets a text message, he's responding quickly with his team, and even before he became the commander, and I would start to worry immediately until I would hear from him back, a text or call just to let me know that, everything was okay. When he joined this team, very proud of him. Also, like I said, very, very worried, waiting for that phone call as the other wives and family here that are here tonight as well. Knowing that he's not only patrolling the streets, dealing with tragedy and violent crimes, that he would be responding to most dangerous situations here in the city of Hammond. I'm not completely familiar with the details of what he does as a member of the team or as the commander now also, but I do know that when the phone rings and he has to get called out, that worry that begins to start, because he's there to keep everyone safe, and I know that he will come home safely to me. When I learned that the police department was planning on purchasing this vehicle that would protect my husband and the team when they handled these dangerous situations that they come face to face with, I was relieved. I thought I would have peace of mind knowing that, everything was being done to keep my husband and these guys safe. And when I learned that, the first meeting, things were not approved, at that point, as, information, I guess, wasn't presented maybe as it should have been, or didn't have the chance to, to bring that to your attention, I was alarmed at that. I mean, putting a price tag, I know $250,000 is a lot of money, but as the mayor mentioned, with recent occurrences, these first responders, can you put a price tag on their lives? I mean, I'm a nurse and I work at North Oaks, and with the shock and trauma level 2 team that we have now, I mean, I see a lot of that come into the hospital, and once they get past the critical care side where I will take care of these patients, it hits home. So also, reading a letter to the editor from the Daily Star encouraging the council to vote against the purchase of this truck was alarming to me also. As I read through the letter, I couldn't help but ask if the writer of that had ever worried about a loved one or had ever have ever experienced that, knowing a family member that has deployed or a law enforcement officer. That my husband and these guys are not mindless robots who just take pleasure in terrifying the citizens of Hammond patrolling through the city in this armored vehicle that looks more military than police. But I can assure you that my husband and these guys are nothing like that at all. They're flesh and blood, and they love their children and their families, some of which are here tonight to support them as well. They can be injured or killed, and thought that anything happening to any of them just is sickening. Members of this team, they consider themselves family, as do the wives as well, and the children of the members. They know that they can rely on each other to be there in the worst situations that they do face. Every member of this team has someone who loves them. Some of them are here tonight to show that support. Mothers, fathers, wives, and children, and there's many more. So we, the SRT family, are asking you, the council, to approve the purchase of this new SRT truck. Please give our husbands the protection they need to come home safely to us, and give them the tools and protection they need to safely do their jobs. Please don't make me have to tell my children or those that are here that their daddy isn't coming home because the bread truck couldn't protect them. Thank you.
I'm Jean Voorhees, and I'm the president of the Tangi Democrats, and I wrote the letter.
Ms. Jean, give us your address.
1201 South Holly Street. As I said in the letter, the Tangi Democrats met in their monthly meeting, and we discussed this issue at some length and voted unanimously to in opposition to making the purchase, and for many reasons. But before I go into that, I'd like to ask one question, please. You know, if you're in an armored vehicle going into a situation with live fire, that vehicle can only take you as close as you can get. If I'm inside and I'm shooting, if I've got any sense at all, I'm going to wait until you get out. You can't capture anybody, and you can't issue a warrant from inside the vehicle. You've got to open the door and get out there and deal with them. Am I not understanding something?
You can communicate from the vehicle, looking right at you on the inside of that building, and talk to them and try to talk them out of what they're doing, which is what happens many times.
The video, let me
answer?
Yeah, hang on one second. Ms. Jean, let me,
Yeah.
I was able to see a video that is proprietary to this company, and I understand. The video they showed this vehicle pull up to a house. There was a guy on the front porch. He had an AK-47. I believe that he's probably mentally disturbed. He immediately put 3 rounds into the windshield. Okay. They talked to him for a couple minutes, put another round into the windshield. They continued to talk. The situation ended peacefully. I asked the officer, said, what would have happened if y'all went in his vehicle? If y'all just rode up in a Tahoe or a bread truck? Obviously, you'd have officers that were injured. But the citizen who doesn't need to be killed was also, the situation ended peacefully. Unfortunately, every situation doesn't end that way, but that's what really convinced me that this was a good purchase, is that, they're not going to be crashing into people's houses just willy-nilly.
Well,
Can I answer?
sure.
The truck has ports on the side of it that are built for, you can open them up and use less lethal munitions, which we have, which are like big rubber batons, for lack of a better word, that when they strike you, they hurt, but they don't kill you. There's a situation where the guy didn't shoot the gun at the SWAT team, but he pointed the weapon at the SWAT team. If we are not inside of a vehicle like this and someone points a weapon at us, we have no choice but to shoot them. If this vehicle provides that protection, we don't have to shoot them. We can talk to them through the vehicle's PA system. That particular instance, an officer was able to open up the port on the side of the vehicle and use a taser on the subject and tase him, and then they got out of the vehicle and took him into custody. It's got a fixed arm on the front that we can attach that's a ram that will go in and push a door open. Not ram through the house or knock it down, but just push up through the door and open the door for us without having to get out of the vehicle.
But if he doesn't come out, you're going to have to go in after him.
If that case does happen, then that's the worst case scenario. As it stands now, we will have no choice but to go in and deal with them as it is. These vehicles save lives. Most of the time, if you pull up in somebody's front yard with a vehicle like this, it's been probably every agency that has one of these has reported that when they pull up into the front yard of somebody who's barricaded inside of a house and does not want to come out, you pull into the front yard with one of these vehicles, they almost surrender immediately. We can deliver a throw phone that we have without getting out this vehicle. We can deliver it inside that house and talk to these people and talk them into coming out without having to get out of the vehicle or having to go into the house and get them. That's what this vehicle allows us to do. It allows us to use negotiation first, so we don't have to hurt people, because we don't want to.
Well,
I hope that answers your question.
Blessings on you. Thank you. I'd like to speak on behalf of the Tangi Democrats. The main concern of the group had to do with the emotional impact of the purchase of this vehicle on the community, particularly the people of color in the community. It is significant, I think, that the entire SWAT team is white. And I don't think sometimes that white folks realize what the emotional impact, the psychological impact of a military-style machine like this in the hands of the Hammond police. Right now, we all know that there are all kinds of national concerns about the excessive use of force, and the victims are almost entirely people of color. And it's a situation where, on the one hand, you have military and law enforcement thinking, and on the other hand, you have people who feel that they have no protection. And it is a fearful thing, particularly if you visualize that you could be an innocent person that is the recipient of that kind of power. It's a tremendous amount of power. There were two main concerns. One had to do with the issue of the psychological impact. You know, the mayor came to, as I mentioned in the letter, to the second Saturday breakfast and talked about the officers that were going into the high-risk neighborhoods, giving out their business cards with their cell phone numbers on it. This works toward community. This works toward reducing that distrust and that fear between the law enforcement and the African-American community and other people of color and other folks. But this goes in the opposite direction. This brings us in the direction of more force. And, you know, this is a town of 20,000 people with a university in it. People go out jogging. And in all my years, I've been here since 1971, I know that these things can happen, and they do. The world is not all full of nice people. But it just seems like a disproportionate amount of force for a small town. If every town of 20,000 people had an armored vehicle in it, we would have basically a combat situation. It is an excessive amount of force. And I do have family, and my brother served in Vietnam for many years. My nephew is in the state police in Oklahoma. It's not that I'm insensitive to the needs of law enforcement, but we have not had tremendous issues like this. It's like preparing for a volcanic eruption. I know it can happen, but it just seems like preparing for something which is really highly unlikely. The other point had to do with the money. And with that much money, we have talked about the fact that most of Hammond's law enforcement issues are misdemeanors. And we have this revolving door in the jail. And with that kind of money, somebody could be hired with a specialist degree in mental health and substance abuse counseling, and people coming into the city jail could be assessed. They could provide treatment while they're there, and maybe we could stop this continual revolving door in our jail.
Ms. Jean,
Yes.
with all due respect, that money cannot be used to hire someone. That money is for millage that is for police equipment. So that money cannot be used to pay salaries or reoccurring expenses. So
Well-
that, I mean,
But,
that's,
Ms. Jean, that idea is fantastic. And we are getting in the community more and more. And as the chief has asked many times before, the misdemeanor jail that we would have, the idea of it is exactly what you're saying. Having portals around the jail where people from different departments of the state can come in. If you have a drug problem, they'll address that. If you have a domestic problem, they address that. If you have a mental disorder problem, they address that. Those ideas are great, and we're not looking into those, but there are grants that we're looking for, and we need to find the money for these type of misdemeanor jails that we can help people with.
Could
So
that
the thought
money-
is not there,
yeah.
but this particular money can't be used for that.
Perhaps
Not that
it-
it couldn't be
yeah.
changed in the future, but that's legislation outside of the city of Hammond. as far as
Perhaps
what
that
the
money
millage
could be
money
used
can
for
for.
additional body armor, helmets, whatever, to
We
make
have all
people
that.
safer.
The bottom line is, it's a simple word, and it's safety. What you're saying is, and I understand it,
I'm saying it's
perception.
overkill. Yeah.
But we don't want to use it. But if they do need to use it, what's the cost of any one of these people's lives?
I understand. Law enforcement is dangerous. But there's also the issue, if I may speak as an individual, the old business about if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. That we start out with the idea of this being used for very specialized things, and if it's there more and more, I think it will be used, and it will move toward the militarization of our community. I'm an activist, as many of you know, and I'm the kind of person that's inclined, if I get really, really ticked, and there are a lot of people that feel as I do, I'm likely to be walking down in a march down Hammond, and, you know, the day may come when I'd be looking at a machine like that. You know, I can see a situation in which, you know, you get a highly charged political environment and we have people marching and somebody gets angry and starts cussing at somebody and somebody picks up a rock and the next thing you know you have a kerfuffle. And, you know, an old white woman like me could end up having to deal with a machine like that. I just feel like it's excessive for a town this size.
Thank you, Ms. Jean.
Thank you.
I would ask, because we're gonna, I don't want to limit anybody, but we're gonna move
2
on
minutes.
very soon. Okay.
My name's Keisha Aranosi. I'm actually a firefighter here with the city of Hammond. I date Officer McGovern. We have 2 small kids. And I just want to make 3 quick points. Number 1, the decision to purchase the vehicle shouldn't be made from a tactical opinion, because let's face it, none of us train tactically or have any idea what exactly their job duties entail. And so to make a decision based on what we think might happen in that situation or how we think they might respond or what their actions would be is really kind of an ignorant standpoint, because we don't truly understand what it is that they face. Secondly, as far as the questions about race, this safety issue should not be in any way made a race issue, because I can guarantee you right now that there would be just as much support if there was a more diverse group sitting here tonight. Thirdly, as far as the amount of money goes, I know that it seems like a lot, but you can't, as the mayor said, you can't put a price on their lives and whether or not they're coming home. And while, hey, they only get called out twice a year, maybe 3 times a year, but you never know when that one time is going to be. Nobody ever plans for that. Nobody ever knows when that's going to happen. And these guys get up and they train without asking for anything extra. And whether you purchase the vehicle or not, they're still going to respond. He's still going to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and throw his gear on and run out the door, because that's who he is. And that's what he does. And every single one of them on this team are like that. And they put their lives on the line every single day for this community and for these people. And they don't ask for anything in return. And if his life were to be lost doing what he loves to do and what he's good at, and I knew that every measure we could possibly take had been taken to protect him and keep him safe, there would be some level of peace in that. But if his life was lost because we just couldn't justify spending this amount of money, that would grieve me on a different level, because then I'd have to explain to my children why he wasn't coming home. And that to me is just really heartbreaking. This is a good group of guys, and they train really hard and they work really hard, and they deserve to be protected the best that we can give them.
I think we have a few more. Sandra, hang on, let Ms. Mary come in.
I have a comment too.
Thank you. I'm Mary Perosco, 2607 Rue St. Martin. Just on a technical issue, I know this is basically set up for your recordings and the broadcast, but if we could have some speakers, then those of us in the audience could hear what people are saying, because it's very difficult to hear what people are saying to you when they're facing this way and there's no speakers. I don't think it's a money issue. I really don't. I think we would spend any amount of money to keep our police officers safe. I think our police department is achieved the admiration of most people in this community. I certainly feel safe in this community, and I see police officers on the streets all the time. I'm out there late at night walking a dog, and there are police cars going by waving and making sure that everything's the way it's supposed to be. I think our police department is truly, truly admirable. But we've all been looking at the news, and we've all been reading the papers, and we've all been watching television, and we know that there's an element of fear that is out there, that all of our police departments are becoming militarized and are becoming separate from the community. And I fear that this would be a step back for our police department. When I heard the mayor come to the second Saturday breakfast and talk about the community policing and handing out cards and getting the community support to help police officers at all times, I thought that was truly admirable and truly something that our community can be proud of. But I've talked to a lot of people since this issue first came up, and I haven't found anyone who supports it. This vehicle is not going to make our community feel safer. This vehicle scares us. We are all afraid of something like this. We don't want our police department to become an armored truck and an armored car and something that you see on TV with SWAT teams going in throwing people on the floor. We don't want any police officers to be injured, and I certainly relate to the families of police officers like Gene. I've had people in combat situations in my family, and I had a son flying helicopters in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and people were shooting at him. And it's not a good place to be, but this is, I think, not the answer. I really feel that this will be a step back for our police department, and I hope that you will reconsider this issue, and as Councilman Marshall suggested earlier, we take more time, maybe have some more questions, maybe have another 2 weeks or so to get information out. But right now, I think the people of Hammond are afraid of this vehicle and that it would not be in the best interests of them or of the police department, and certainly in the interrelationship between the two. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sandra Weary. I live at 102 Roof Drive. Initially, I had some concerns. However, and a lot of people have heard me say, if my grandmother said it, you could etch it in stone. And she used to say, time brings on a change, and it does. Now, when I heard about the incident that occurred over on Quick Boulevard and they found the AK-47, I'm going like, my thing is this. Yeah, now I've been black here 3 times in this town, baby, child, woman, and I know what it is. Nobody has to say anything about what black people may feel. I know what it feels like. But the thing is this, my point is, I'm like, better safe than sorry. You may never have to use the thing. And I don't think it being a military vehicle scaring people, there's not much things that scare people these days. My thing is, I would just feel that if something should happen to occur here and we need it, we will have it. That's all I have to say.
My name's Sammy Richmond. You guys all know me, IT director. But I'm going to speak from a personal perspective of something that happened to me in City Hall. And this happened, a few years back. Somebody came into City Hall and threatened our employees with violence, said they had a gun in their vehicle and that they wanted to come in and shoot everybody. And Miss Sandra saw the guy before I did. And had to deal with him and got him to leave, and he came back. And luckily, nobody was in the building, and the person he was there to, who he was really mad at, wasn't there as well. But I had the unfortunate pleasure of having to calm him down and try and get him to leave the building without using any type of force or anything like that, and make him potentially go back to his car and pull out his weapon and come in and start shooting people. And I can tell you from a personal standpoint, once that happens to you, it changes you for the rest of your life. And knowing that these police officers would have safety to come in and maybe rescue people that are still in the building if somebody is doing what they're doing, that would make me feel better. And I think you all have a responsibility to think about people that have already been in these situations that people don't know about, because typically things like that don't get publicized. Hammond is a safe town, and they do have bad incidents that happen here. But things are kept quiet, and maybe there needs to be more of that. I don't know. That's neither here nor there. But I'm getting off track. We need this vehicle, and we need it so that we can continue having effective police presence. Not necessarily presence, but when there is a situation, and there will be a situation, it's not whether, if or when, that they have the tools they need to get in there and rescue people. And I will sleep better at night knowing they have it. I don't think it's a racial thing. I don't think it's a money thing. It should definitely be their safety. Thank you.
For the interest of, how many more members of the public would like to speak? Greg.
My name's Greg Drude, 1500 University Drive in Hammond. I agree with him. I don't think this is a money thing. The money's there. It's not like they're asking you for money that hasn't already been allocated to the police department. This is a decision that the police department and the chief is making for a piece of equipment that will hopefully save lives. I look at it as a piece of mobile body armor. You know, if you're a police officer and somebody shoots you in the head, having a vest on doesn't do you any good. If they shoot you in the leg, hit you in the femoral artery, it doesn't do you any good. This is something that allows them to better position themselves in a situation where they can take care of an issue, possibly save the person's life who is causing the trouble, and definitely save their life. So it's not like they're saying, hey guys, come write me a check. It's like, hey, let me use the money that I already have. There are people in this world that have never shot a gun. They're scared if they see somebody walking around with a hunting rifle. They're scared if they see somebody with an open carry permit. They're scared if they see a police officer in the subway having lunch because they got a gun. They're just not used to it. I'm looking here at Johnny. How about if we paint that thing pink with white stripes? Is that going to make them any more comfortable? It'll still save the officers' lives, but it's you know, you can't make everybody feel warm and fuzzy all the time. What you need to do is protect the lives of these officers. And I would hate to have to be the person who goes to a funeral and say, you know what, I had a chance to vote for that, but I didn't because somebody was going to be uncomfortable. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, Mr. President, I just wanted to make a couple of comments, and I think this is where my position is on the situation. First, I agree that this is not a race thing, and being an African American on the council, I want to just go on record and say that I don't perceive the race issue. I know there's lots of conversation. I've put some comments out on Facebook and got some feedback from my constituents, white, black, older, younger, and pretty much consistently the message I got was that this was not a vehicle or the time for us to have this type of vehicle in Hammond. Then I also got some comments from others that said that they felt like, you know, saving any law enforcement life is very, very important. And I agree with that. I think it's very important that we look at those ways to protect our law enforcement officers who do a great job for us. My main concern, and this is a question for the chief if he wants to respond to it, is I am looking at it from how have we done our job, due diligence to make sure that we're making the best decision possible to solve all of our problems. Can we collaborate with the military? Can we collaborate from a regional perspective? Do we have to can we not involve the sheriff's department, the different law enforcement agencies, and the military and make it, if we have to need a vehicle like this, do we look at it from a broader perspective? And I think that that's been a failed point or request from me to the police chief to even do that. You know, we had 2 extra weeks, and after it was a pretty clear request for me, I got nothing at all from the chief regarding that. I really think that if we have to make a decision to have this type of a vehicle in our fleet to better protect the law enforcement officers, I think we should do a much better job of trying to really understand the dynamics of how we can really make this purchase if we have to, and do it from a broader perspective. And I think that to say that we have to do this tonight, give ourselves some more time, further educate the public, further educate the council, you know, collaborate with the military groups that we have within our region. I talked to a prominent a member of the military just the other day, and I mentioned to the chief, and I said, would you want to meet with him and talk with him and maybe even discuss, can we do this together? And his answer to me was, no, he's not interested. So I think that we got to take our time or add more time and really make sure we exhaust all ways of looking at this so we can do all the things. We can manage our costs we can protect our law enforcement officers, and we can ensure that our public knows exactly, I have a few more things, Mr. President, what we should be doing. For instance, what's the deployment plan? I think the officer here did a great job of explaining some of those things, but I want to hear that from the chief as well. How do we know when this is going to be deployed? What is the protocol? What are the steps we're going to put in place to make sure that those perceived things that could happen don't happen? I think all those things should be laid out, and the community should buy into that and say, okay, now we're on board, we're together with this, and we're going to work together. But to just assume that that's not even required, to me, shows that you're not even really interested in the community knowing what you really want to do. So I would hope that through the course of tonight, the chief would even recommend that we table this event or this discussion until he can give us some more information, so then we can go back and really support the concept if it makes sense. If we've exhausted all means and the military says, well, we can't participate or we can't do this, I would really like to see us do that. And I think it would show leadership if we were to make those type of decisions tonight.
Okay, my final thought on this is, first of all, fear sells. So does emotion. Now, I went on the Lenco site and I read the information. They talked about the fact that they sold one to Henderson, Texas, who only have 20 officers. Now, I don't want anybody thinking that I don't think a policeman's life matter. I think every person's life matter. If I did not, I never would have joined the military to fight for your freedom and your right to have these discussions. Now, when you go into the military, it's a guaranteed fact that if you in a war zone, you will be shot at and possibly killed. Now, we can't say the same thing about the police department here in Hammond so far. I'm not saying that this cannot happen, but we have 20,000 people in the city of Hammond, and our biggest crime is shoplifting, breaking and entering, and drug sales. Like I said, if we had more involvement with the police department, so far as working with our communities, everybody get to know who the people are, then you can have more people calling you up and letting you know what's going on in the community, who doing things that they don't have any business, what it is that needed to be taken care of. I don't understand how anybody should have had 21 warrants before somebody went in to get them. I don't understand why we need a military vehicle for 20,000 people with breaking and entering, people standing on the corner selling dime bags of drugs, and somebody shoplifting at the grocery store is a reason to have an armored vehicle. Now, like I said, if a policeman, there is a possibility that you're gonna get in some sticky situations. With the military, it's about guaranteed. You sign up to be shot at. You sign up to possibly be killed. You sign up for your family to know that you're not coming back. Not necessarily with the police department, like I said. If we make sure that each officer have a body cam, each police cruiser has a dash cam, and if we start making sure that our communities are patrolled, then I don't have to worry about somebody coming in my yard stealing my generator while I'm at work, and the police officer sit 2 blocks down the street playing with a cell phone in a car with the air conditioner running.
The individual who had 21 warrants was from out of state. He came here. They called that case "Catch Me If You Can" because the last few times they had tried to catch him in places he left a note telling him, "Catch me if you can." This was somebody who was doing what he was doing and was very good at it. And we were on his trail, and because we worked with other agencies, DEA, St. Tammany, State Police, Attorney General's office, he came in our community in Whitmore and was in somebody's attic who had him there and was harboring him, and that's how he was caught. So, you're right. 21 warrants, that's ridiculous, but that's what it was, and that's what happens sometimes. You just don't know what people are capable of until it happens, and that's the scary part of it all.
Chief, would you like to respond to Councilman Marshall?
Chief, would you be willing to have a meeting with the military.
First of all, the
Can
military...
I ask my question? Can I ask you the question?
Wait, I'm sorry?
Can I ask you the question?
I thought you did. but
I
I'm
was
sorry.
going to ask you, just to make sure you clarify, because I know some other things happen. Would you be willing to delay the process a little bit longer and give yourself a chance to meet with the personnel, the military personnel that wants to meet and talk about how they can potentially help so we can solve all the problems and maybe be able to do more than just purchase the unit for Hammond, but maybe look at it from a regional perspective? Would you be willing to do that?
I'll answer that question in just a second. I think one thing that people's forgetting, Hammond has 20,000 people on a Sunday morning at 4 o'clock when Southeastern is not in session. We deal with 150,000 people a day. Now, I'm the first to stand here and tell you that I think we have the best people in the world here in Hammond. But while we were sleeping Sunday afternoon, 2 prominent people from Baton Rouge were murdered and dumped here. Now, that has nothing to do with the city of Hammond, but it could just as easily have been turned into a hostage situation that started somewhere else. We have good people here, y'all, but we have to deal with bad people, and bad people are coming through Hammond every day. $1 million worth of money taken off the interstate, dope. There's more dope and there's more illegal activities up and down these 2 interstates than any law enforcement in the country can handle. And as far as the military, I don't think that the military and police should be combined. It's totally 2 different situations. I've been in Hammond 34 years. As far as I'm concerned, Hammond Police Department is as good as anybody in the country. I'll stand behind any one of these guys anytime, anywhere. We want to lead. We don't want to follow anybody. We want Hammond to be number 1, and my number 1 priority is protect the police officers and the citizens.
Would you be willing to meet and collaborate?
No, thank you.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move on. What's the pleasure of the council?
I motion to table pending more time to review this proposal for the Bearcat G2.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Janice Carter Beard,
Aye.
Jason Hood,
No.
Johnny Blunt,
Nope.
Lamar Marshall,
Aye.
Mike Williams.
No.
Motion
Motion fails.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a second.
You want a second to approve or no? You want a second to approve or not?
Second to approve.
Roll call, please.
Jason Hood,
Aye.
Janice Carter Beard,
No.
Lamar Marshall,
No.
Johnny Blunt,
Aye.
Mike Williams.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
I've already voted.
Motion passed.
New business, a resolution to approve the renewal of all existing business, high and low alcohol permits in the city of Hammond, calendar year 2016.
Good evening
Ms. Jenny.
again. It's been a long evening. I'm going to be quick. This is pretty routine. It's alcohol licenses that are already existing.
Just give them a second to clear out.
The alcohol approval for the renewals or existing alcohol licenses that have been approved by the council in previous year or years. This is a yearly renewal of the existing, and we're asking for a blanket renewal of all existing alcohol licenses for 2016.
And just to be clear, if something happens every year.
Yes, this is it's every year. It has to be renewed, and there are forms and that go out that have to be filled out and returned back in.
Yeah, ask him to go outside.
He's closing the door.
So you can't really close the doors.
Just close one door.
Make a motion to approve, Mr. President.
Do I have a second?
You can't second, can you?
No, I'm asking. I'm not saying.
You want to be a council president?
We have a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Johnny Blunt. Jason Hood.
Aye.
Janice Carter Beard.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike Williams.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Number 2, resolution authorizing a corner store, number 389 at 42315 South Morrison Boulevard to obtain a permit to sell high-low packaged alcohol for 2015-16 calendar year. The owner is CST Louisiana LLC. Jenny Wilson.
We have reviewed the application for this alcohol license, and everything does seem to be in order. We are asking for approval tonight. As you heard the young lady come up earlier and explain what the business was all about. It is new to our community. It's a very a new built business, and they are here tonight to answer any questions that y'all might have, but we are asking for approval tonight.
Can
Would y'all
someone
come up,
that
please?
represents? Can you state your name and address for the record?
Adam Webb, 512 Broadmoor, Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
All right. As you heard earlier, we ask all businesses that are applying for a high-low alcohol permit to come before the council so we can kind of put you on the record on the spot and make sure you understand. I'm sure you do the laws as it relates to selling alcohol to minors.
Yes,
and
sir.
let you know that you will be checked.
Yes, sir.
So, okay.
Make a motion to approve.
Roll call, please.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Janice Carter Beard.
Aye.
Johnny Blunt.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike Williams.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3, a resolution to appoint Jessica Shirey to the Hammond Historic District for a 4-year term from October 20th, 2015 to December 31st, 2016. Mayor.
It's my pleasure to recommend Jessica to serve on the historic board. She'll be replacing Scott Sandage, who has resigned. Jessica and Nolan have spent an enormous amount of money purchasing a building downtown and investing their money into the building, which is absolutely beautiful, I must say. Thank you for being here and continuing to upgrade our downtown. They have a business, a salon business there, and I request the board, if you would, to please accept her nomination.
And Jessica is here if anyone has any questions.
And to be clear about the language on the resolution, all of the terms on the historic board are 4-year terms. So Scott Sandage is resigning his term and still going, and so Jessica is being appointed for the remainder of his term, and then will come up for reappointment in 2016.
Motion to approve.
Roll call, please.
Johnny Blunt. Jason Hood.
Aye.
Janice Carter Beard.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike Williams.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Number 4, resolution to ratify and award bids received October 16, 2015 for the Pine Hill Forest Sewer Extension, Project 616-11507. Webb,
Webb.
not Chuck.
You got lucky.
This is Webb.
Chuck Lee.
We got, as you can see, you have the hyperlink.
Yep.
Bid summary. 7 bids on the project. Low bidder is Mitchell Contracting. It is within budget. We recommend award to Mitchell Contracting in the amount of $366,588.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Janice Carter Beard.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Johnny Blunt. Mike Williams.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Item number 5, a resolution to approve change order number 2, final on Hammond North Shore Airport Phase 2 Drainage Improvements Project 414-05 31504 in the amount of $33,584.80 credit.
This project had been previously accepted. The change order wasn't done. I think they had to adjust some final quantities, but as you can see, it's a credit. Recommend approval of change order number 2 final in that amount.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Janice Carter Beard. Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Johnny Blunt. Jason
I can't
Hood.
see.
Aye.
Mike Williams.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Thank you. Number 6, a resolution to approve the updated capital improvement plan for the Hammond North Shore Regional Airport. Dave LeBoux.
Good evening, everyone. The capital improvement plan that I believe you all have copies of, the Excel spreadsheet, is pretty much identical to those that you have approved in previous years. We've got a runway rehabilitation project at the top, obviously. That's above the line because the funding is available for the design of that, and then the funding for the actual construction will come in the next fiscal year. We then have our Phase 3 and Phase 4 drainage improvements. The one that we were just talking about with Spangler was Phase 2. Then after that, we've got apron joint reseal movement and the movement of taxiway alpha. What the movement of taxiway alpha is, we've run into some issues with the tower coming online in that there's a designated safe zone that has to be maintained between the center line of the taxiway and the edge of the aprons where we park aircraft. So in other words, if you've got an aircraft and you're waiting to make contact with the tower to roll out and go out onto the taxiway, this is the line that you're supposed to stay behind. And that tells anybody that's taxiing, if they've got an aircraft that has a wingspan that's cleared for our airport, that tells them that it's safe for them to taxi there. And it takes care of reliability issues. It protects the aircraft that are operating out of our airport and the aircraft that fly into the airport. So we're looking obviously down the road, and we have a chance to revise this list, reprioritize, add things to it, take things off pretty much once a year as we move forward.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Janice Carter Beard.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Johnny Blunt.
He's in the back.
Mike Williams.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Number 7, resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with the Louisiana Department of Transportation Development for project rehabilitate runway 1836 and 1331 Phase 2 at the Hammond North Shore Regional Airport. David LeBoux.
You previously approved the FAA contract for 90% of the funding for that design project. As is the case with FAA funded projects, the state picks up the other 10% of that, and this is the contract for that 10%. Once that's done, we'll be able to start letting out the money and get the process started.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jason Hood.
Aye.
Johnny Blunt. Janice Carter Beard.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike Williams.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Final adoption of an ordinance. Number 1, final adoption of ordinance to amend the City of Hammond budget for fiscal year 2015-16 to transfer $117,011 from court-awarded asset fund 205 to local government assistance program grant account, program 31601, to replace the roof on the police station.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Johnny Blunt. Jason Hood.
Aye.
Janice Carter Beard.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike Williams.
Aye. Number 2, final adoption of the ordinance to create the position of sports coordinator, pay grade 119, to replace the position of youth coordinator, pay grade 119.
Christmas Waswa. Motion to approve.
Roll call, please.
Johnny Blunt. Jason Hood.
Aye.
Janice Carter Beard.
Aye.
Lamar Marshall.
Aye.
Mike
That was an
Williams.
incredibly effective presentation.
Christmas Waswa.
Did very well.
Motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.